Hello everyone, JesterGio here. Welcome back to another installment of First Look. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the Archer, the newest harasser coming to the game. I think you all are expecting me to say this already, but before we talk about Archer, there's another thing we need to talk about first. You see, Archer wasn't the only thing that was added to the test server, as the new pinging system was also added into the test server. And, just by looking at the new pinging system changes, they are all massive buffs to solo queue communications. So before we talk about Archer, let's briefly go over the new changes to the pinging system. Starting off with the most tame part about the new pinging system, the voice command system. Some people are saying this means we are finally getting voice chat in rank with this change. Unfortunately, this feature is not voice chat and cannot be used to talk to your teammates in the match. If I could compare this voice command to anything, it would be like those mic assist features where you can say a phrase and it will write it out. Basically, you say what ping you want to display to your team via the mic and it will automatically display the ping you want to send. It has to be a ping you can make in-game, otherwise it will just not work. This feature was done mainly for players who are too locked into the kite to be able to properly try and find the pings they want to send. Now, you might think that seems pretty stupid since it should be easy to just ping the hunter is nearby. However, there are certain situations, such as an early chase hit or certain hunter, where you will need to ping something like go for the tie, which can be hard to do. Depending on the messages you have, you might need to search through your ping window for the message you want. This could distract you and cause you to die early, which is the reason I rarely ping when I'm in chase. With this change, I can focus on the chase and easily find the ping I want to send in that situation. Plus, that isn't even talking about how the new pinging system even looks like, which is drastically different than the old one. In fact, it looks so complicated that it might be hard to just ping, the hunter is nearby, without doing a bit of digging. Because of that, this feature will definitely be useful and will definitely be a feature I will use often while in chase. Now we can talk about the actual pinging system changes that we are getting, and, holy fuck, there is too much to gather from this one frame alone. The new pinging system is a fill-in-the-blank type ping system where you can freely customize the pings you want to do. You can ping roles, the hunter, hunter traits, locations, actions, you name it, you can ping it. To give an example of what I mean, let's say there's a survivor who got chaired at the Cottage of Sacred Heart. There is a Wendy on the match and you want her to rescue the chaired survivor. With the new pinging system, you can make a ping now that says, Meteorologist, rescue them at Cottage. You can also use markers on the map to ping locations you are going to, such as the gate or a location on the map. You could also warn the team of the hunter you are going against, so we finally have that ping that tells the team who the hunter is. You can warn about traits as well, such as blink or warp, in order to have your teammates be careful of certain traits. And this is just the surface level things you can do with the ping system. There is a lot more I really didn't go in depth about because it would be too much to explain. However, just know that this will be a massive buff to communications, since it gives the players so much info to send to their team for any given situation. I thought the old pinging buff would be the strongest one we got, but this just blows that buff out of the water. I am extremely excited for this change and can't wait for all the potential pings to come from this change alone. Overall, massive survivor buff that will help solo survivors out, giving themselves and teammates much needed direction that they didn't have before. That's all I wanted to say about the new pinging system. I'm really happy with the changes that are coming. There are a few concerns, such as this making it harder for hunter players now, but I do think this is an objectively good change. Now with that covered, we can now talk about the new survivor, the Archer. As usual, we will be going into her item and abilities first before getting into my thoughts on the Archer. Archer starts the match with a bow, one that she can use up to 3 times. Press and hold the ability button to make Archer take out her bow and take aim. While aiming with the bow, her movement speed is decreased by 10%. When aiming at the hunter, you will notice 2 things, a ring around the hunter and a red mark inside of the hunter. That red mark is the hunter's core and the ring is her auto-aim trigger. Think of it like Cowboy's lasso ring, where it will auto-aim when it completely fills. Moving on to actually firing the bow, hitting the hunter with an arrow will cause them to get lacerations. Hitting the hunter's body will give them 50% lacerations while hitting the core will give the hunter 100% lacerations. Be warned, you need to hold your item down for 1.25 seconds before use, otherwise you'll only deal 40% lacerations. While having lacerations, movement the hunter does will increase the meter, not interactions. This means walking and dropping down will cause the timer to go up, while vaulting and breaking pallets will pause it. The faster the hunter moves that isn't teleporting, the faster the hunter will generate lacerations. The exception to this rule is Goatman, who will automatically get stunned when using his cage teleports. The perfect example of this is Opera Singer, whose dashes will make it so you get 100% quickly. If you aren't moving when you have lacerations on you, the lacerations will go away. When you do reach 100% lacerations, you will be stunned for 2.5 seconds, so gaining 100% is pretty bad. When you hold the bow in front of the hunter, the ring will slowly lock onto the hunter. It will eventually lock onto the core of the hunter, allowing you to get a free core hit on the hunter. With that said, you can still fire your bow during the lock-on and still hit the core even if not locked on. All it relies on is good aim from you and positioning from the hunter. Aside from her main item, Archer has a secondary ability as well, known as the Crossbow. The Crossbow has 2 uses to it, so Archer technically has 5 item uses to work with. When you use the Crossbow, the Archer will jump away while firing her crossbow, dealing 60% lacerations if it hits the hunter. Now, I think she jumps away from the direction your camera is facing towards, though I could be wrong. Point is, she dashes away really far and really fast when using it, which can allow you to potentially dodge hits with it. Keep in mind, however, that this isn't a jump despite her being airborne, so you cannot jump over obstacles like pallets and windows using it. Her bow has a 12-second cooldown while it seems her crossbow cooldown is 10 seconds. Finally, we get into the debuff, which reduces her fear radius detection by 30%. It's like Prisoner's debuff, except it has something else that makes it not ass. When you exit the fear radius, you will move 10% slower for 5 seconds, with a 20-second cooldown between the slowdowns. That covers all the abilities Archer has and there's a lot to go over with it. First, I would like to say that I was correct in my intuition that she would be our next harasser. Given NetEase's track record with releasing specialty survivors, it only made sense that they would complete the package with her. I was also correct in assuming she might be a pseudo-rescuer, since her bow allows her to stun the hunter and get the rescue off. I know it sounds stupid to say, but you need to remember this is the same company that trolled the community with Fire Investigator. Overall, I do like the concepts they went with when making Archer, although there is one thing I don't like about her. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let me talk about the things I am a fan of first before moving on. The first thing I want to talk about is the debuff, which I do really like how they handled it. The problem with Prisoner's detection debuff is the fact that there really isn't any consequences to having a smaller fear radius. Sure, it allows BQ to approach you stealthily with mirror, but she could already do that without the debuff with good mirror. Plus, due to the fear radius being smaller, it gives Prisoner more urgency to get off his cipher and get away when he hears the fear radius. There really is no scare factor to having a smaller fear radius, especially if it's a hunter who can teleport on top of you. The fear radius Archer has is way smaller than Prisoner's, with it being 30% smaller rather than 20%. However, the thing that separates these two is the fact that Archer has a secondary debuff with it while Prisoner's doesn't. Archer's slowdown makes it so it is hard to escape pursuit against the hunter if they are constantly on your tail. One of the best things you can do as survivor is get out of the hunter's fear radius and get as far away as possible. This is especially important after being off chair, since the hunter losing you can turn the tide of this match. This debuff essentially makes those situations much harder, meaning the hunter is more likely to see and continue their pursuit of you. Because of that, I actually do really like this debuff a lot and feel this is a much better debuff when compared to Prisoners. It's also a very unique debuff compared to other debuffs that reduce decoding speed, so this is a great debuff all around. Next is the Crossbow, which I also think is a really cool and fun ability. Obviously, this is just Flywheel without the invulnerability when you think about it, but I think that's what makes it so cool. It can't be used to cheese the hunter like acrobats or antis flips, while you also can't use it to cheese certain abilities. There are limitations to Crossbow and using it poorly will make it not very effective. With that in mind, the distance and how fast it activates makes Crossbow an extremely good ability if you need to get away from the hunter quickly. I have seen Archer dodge a gamekeeper hit after she got hooked by him using Crossbow. I think that is enough to state just how good Crossbow can be. It puts a lot of distance between you and the hunter, meaning you can use it as a flywheel for distance. Additionally, the 60% lacerations it deals means you can possibly finish off the hunter's lacerations timer with Crossbow. Let's say the hunter got close to you and you miss the core, meaning the hunter will be able to hit you. This would normally mean a hit, however because of Crossbow and bow hits dealing 50% lacerations, you can use Crossbow to gain more distance and finish the stun on the hunter. Crossbow may only have 2 uses and aren't really as versatile as Acrobat's jump, but it does provide her some versatility in the places she needs it. As we all know, distance is a valuable asset survivors have, and being able to gain distance in an instance is really powerful. Because of that, Crossbow is a fantastic ability that will help Archer's survivability a ton without making it too strong. Finally, there's her normal item, which is also really good on the surface. It's a stun that takes a while to charge up with auto-aim and a stun that's hard to land when aiming. You also only have 3 shots to use, so landing those core hits is critical. Without doing so, you are either forced to use a Crossbow to finish lacerations or take a hit to save your items. When you do land core hits, however, it does make Archer an extremely powerful survivor to play as. 2.5 seconds is a long time to be stunned by, so being able to land these stuns can be game-changing. It can be really useful during kites in order to keep the hunter at bay, however it isn't the only use that it has. It can be also used when going in for rescues, since the stun time is more than enough to get the rescue off. Since it counts as a stun, you can also do balloon rescues using her bow, both during and after the ballooning animation. Since it's a ranged stun, it allows Archer to be able to rescue from a safe distance, which is very good. This makes bow an incredibly skill-based item that has a ton of reward for landing it, especially since the autolock takes time to fill up. However, there is one thing about bow that I genuinely think should be changed about it. You see, what I failed to mention earlier was the fact that the range of bow is actually based off your auto-lock. This means, wherever you can auto-lock with the bow, you can also fire the bow at the hunter at that range. This means you can be in an unreachable place, such as second stories, and as long as you can autolock, you will be able to stun the hunter. This makes it impossible for the hunter to stop your harassment and allows you to get balloon saves. This doesn't even just apply to the auto-aim, as you can get a lucky snipe on the core in order to successfully stun the hunter. This is stupidly unfair to hunters, and I feel this aspect also power creeps batter in terms of harassment. Sure, he might have a better kite because of his pushback, but he still needs to be in the danger zone in order to harass. Archer doesn't, meaning hunters will either need to bring excitement or deal with being shot down. Not only that, but certain hunters are at a disadvantage against Archer if she doesn't have her auto-aim ready. You see, certain hunters have different animations and different core locations based off those animations. For example, Naiad's core will be hard to hit because of the fact that she moves frantically anytime she does her ballooning animation. However, Opera stays in place whenever she does balloon, meaning she is an easy target whenever she balloons. However, that doesn't really matter if she just auto-locks onto the core, in which the range is the biggest problem. She can shoot the hunter from the top of the funhouse on Moonlit, which is a spot that only Hullabaloo can realistically chase her from. In my opinion, this range needs to be nerfed before going to live because it won't be fun for hunters to go against. This is effectively like old Cowboy when he could just insta-lasso in order to instantly rescue survivors and put them at half health. It is not healthy for the game to have a survivor who can just rescue survivors for free with zero counterplay. Even if they nerf the range, I still think her harassment will be fine because she still has the tools to be able to harass well. It's just the fact that you can put yourself in those untouchable situations that really rub me the wrong way. With that being said, that's all I have to say about the Archer. Although the harassment is something I'm not a fan of, I'm still looking forward to this Survivor release and I'm excited to try her myself. The next video will be another Survivor video, so look forward to that. Until then, thank you so much for watching and I will see all of you next time.
Hold it!